I would like you to write your name across that ace boldly, as big as you can. And David, I'm going to ask you to write your name across that ace. And your name is?
Tanya.
Tanya, would you mind writing your name across that ace? And is it Mary? Mm-hmm. Mary, would you, this ace, you're going to just have to maybe put your initials or something on, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Very good. I'll take that back. Now we know that unless I can write with my toes, because you're going to be watching my hands, that I can't duplicate those signatures at all. And I still have my shoes on. So and we're going to place them in 4 different places. So that's 1. That's 2. That's 3. You know, there are actually people who think I count those clicks. I really don't, but I let them believe that, so they think I'm better than I am, you know. Now, you can see, David, that those are in 4 different places. Am I correct?
Exactly.
All of you? They're not together. I'll stand so you can see this a little better. I'm just going to push those on home like so and give the deck a few cuts and like that. I'm not going to do anything very fast. A little bit of a shuffle as well. And now I'm going to go through and locate the aces quickly. Very, very good. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to just take the cards and wiggle them like that. And believe it or not, that little bit of a wiggle has caused those 4 aces to jump into my 4 pockets. Would you believe that? No. I'll show. I guess I have to do it then. Look at there's 1 over here. Can you see that? I also have 1 over here. I have 1 in this pocket and 1 in this. You're laughing.
A little proof?
Well, that's why she's like, okay, a little proof. I mean, that one does say Allison. Am I correct? That one says Allison. Let's check this one over here. This one, that does say David, I believe. Let's check the one over here. This one, if you see it coming out, this one does say Tanya. And, oh boy, I hope I'm not in trouble again, guys. This could be really dangerous. Oh, I know what happened, guys. Forgive me. You can actually see this, David. I know what happened. You see. This was given to me. It arrived in the mail, actually, last week, see. And can you see that's completely sealed, huh? But you see what it says here? To whom it may concern, care of my name and so forth. And we've never met before. That's why I wasn't sure, but I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to get any closer than that, by the way. Would you come over here and reach inside yourself and take out what you find? Because I believe, even though that came last week, that's absolutely the last card that you actually signed. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Allison,
yes.
I'd like you to select a playing card, any one of the 52. Please show it to everyone and also to the camera. And as I do this, just say stop.
Stop.
Would you place your card there? Please don't forget it. That's one of the most important things. I'm going to square them up. I'm going to give them a few cuts, which is one way to mix a pack of cards. If you play poker at all, you probably shuffle them in your hands like this. Sometimes the players cut them. Sometimes they have somebody else cut them. In the casinos, you see, they actually mix them like this, you know. And besides straight cuts and shuffles, let me give that a better shuffle, they also give them a series of things called run cuts, which look a little bit like this, you see. If you really want to mix them, you take half the deck and turn it face up, and the other half face down. Now, when they get shuffled together, they're not only going to be mixed in and out, but they're going to be mixed up and down as well. And you can verify that you see them actually being cut and shuffled. In fact, I'll give them a few more of these. These are called run cuts, as I said. Now, the cards are completely mixed up. Some are face up, some are face down, some are back to back, some are face to face. I didn't get lucky and cut to your card, did I? Well, if I do, I generally quit there, you know. Now, keep your eye on the cards. What was the name of your card?
The name and number?
Well, that would be very good. It would identify it 100%,
You mean
yes.
like the 5 of spades?
Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, good. Watch. Did you see anything happen?
No.
Of course not. That was only a rehearsal.
Oh,
Okay. Now we're going to do it for real. Watch. Did you see anything happen that
No, I
time?
did not.
Well, you remember the cards were face up and face down and back to back and face to face. When I snapped my fingers, believe it or not, they all straightened out except for one card, your card, the 5 of spades. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Dave Vernon's Travelers, as described in Stars of Magic, is truly a lesson in misdirection. Now, while the cards are being signed, the professor would always palm off a card and get it into his pocket by simply placing his hand in his pocket. And he used his top palm, which is out of Select Secrets. I'm going to give a brief description. The deck is held in the regular mechanics grip. The right hand comes over. It appears to be covering the deck and holding it, but in reality, you're only holding the deck between the second finger and the thumb. That's so this left thumb, by a little pressure, can pivot the top card around this second finger, which is acting as a pivot point. It only has to move enough to get off this corner so the little finger can touch it and lever it up. This is what the action looks like without my fingers in place. Watch. It's this, like so. Now I'm going to do it with full cover, like that. Now the important thing when you're doing this palm is not to apparently move this thumb. So the minute you feel it connects with your left little finger, you want to get this thumb out of the way, and it works like this. You can square the pack, whatever. Now you casually place your hand in your pocket, and you're prepared for the effect. By now the cards are signed. You make a pressure fan, and you place them in 4 different places. Now you perform Vernon's multiple shift. You show the cards. You show them, you say, you can see they're in 4 different places. Here's what the multiple shift looks like. I'll do it very slowly. These cards get pushed down, and at the very last second, you start to pull some in front of the bottom ace, and all the rest are stripped out the bottom. The hand is turned down, and now you go into a Hindu shuffle. I'll do that one more time in real tempo. Watch. Like so. This results in the 4 aces being on the top of the deck, the top of the face-up deck, of course. Now Vernon would apparently look to see where the aces were, but in reality he used this as a ruse to take a break under the top 2 aces. Now he would perform his bottom palm, and it looks like this. He would say, I shake the cards like so, and although there's no movement here, he has stolen off the 2 cards. Now I'm going to show you how that works. What happens is this. He has a break. I'm going to take the cards away so you can see what happens. The forefinger, in fact, all 3 fingers as a unit, push against the fingers of your right hand so that, watch carefully, the little finger can be stretched enough to pivot those cards directly into palm position. I'll do that again, like so. And that's all there is to it. I'll do it once more with the cards in hand. And it's simply that. Now you shake these, place them back. You say, now the 4 cards are in my 4 pockets. Let me show you. Now you show the previously palmed card that was deposited as one of the cards. Now you're way ahead. This was what I meant by real misdirection. They think the trick is over. You're just getting into all the work. You're showing an ace there. Now you take the 2 palm cards, place them in your left pocket, and bring out one momentarily, showing a portion of it. Then you say, I have one here. Now you place the deck in this hand for an instant, and you say, I have one in this pocket. Now you perform another top palm. Say, let me show you. I forgot to prove that they're really the aces. Now you're ahead with a Vernon top palm again. And you bring out one ace and you show that it is truly one of the signed aces. Now the cards are placed into the crotch of the thumb for what you're going to do in a moment, a palm known as the Lowy palm, Professor Lowy palm, like so. Now you're going to go over and remove the palm base, apparently the other card, from your pocket. And now you're going to do the lowy palm, which looks like this. As you go to your pocket, you see I've palmed it off. It's a top palm in the left hand, and it works like this. As your hands come together, this is swiveled into position and these cards are taken away. Of course, not down here, but at this level, like so. Now you go into your pocket and you bring out the third card. Now you go to bring out the last card and you feign disappointment. You reach into your pocket, you're searching. Now you palm out the final ace. You immediately place the deck to cover it. You check in this pocket and you say, oh, I know what happens. This happens once in a while. And you go over and reproduce it from apparently your inner jacket pocket as a climax. As you may have noticed in my performance, I ended the effect with the card in the envelope, which is the same thing the professor did in his actual performances. I was also very lucky early in my career, at 12 years old, as a matter of fact, to run around and exchange ideas with a wonderful magician named Paul LePaul, the inventor of this method. Now, I never saw Paul use the wallet. I only saw him do this method, which was this. He made, taking a piece of cardboard, cut these flaps. The flaps run the entire length of these envelopes. You slit an envelope on one end and you slide it up over this piece of cardboard and glue it in place. Both cases. Now we have these flaps. Now you take an envelope. I address it to whom it may concern, care of the magician. And you want to take a serrated knife, one with a serrated edge, and cut this little slit all the way across here, about 1/4 inch, because a serrated knife will give you this jagged edge. Now you're prepared to get set up. You open this flap, you place it on the longer of the two gaffs, like so. Then you place the shorter of the two on the other side, like so. And then you place some real mail around this, the longer envelope. Some real mail on top of it, like so. A rubber band near the top. Here are the gaffs. And the last thing you do is you pull up one of those flaps to keep that open, to work as a guide when you drop the card in. Now, since I'm going from my left hand with a card palm, I'm going to place this in my right pocket, like so. And now you're ready. Now, you just take the palm card, move it over to your jacket. I'm going to open this so you can see what happens. You go in, you hit the flap, you hit it down. As a matter of fact, I sometimes hold the pack while I'm doing this, and if I need extra time to fumble, I hand this to, I say, would you mind holding these? That gives you a little extra moment if you don't hit it immediately. Now you bring this on out like so. Now you talk about the fact that this came in the mail the other day. You bring this out. These are set down. You point out that it's completely sealed. You show it to someone else. You want to make sure the tear is on this side. And now you hold it between your thumb and forefinger and you turn it over, and this thumb covers the entire slit as you have them read what it says. You come on back and instantly tear in the close proximity, and you leave the last piece there as you ask them to reach inside and take out the card. And you hold the card in the envelope, as Charlie Miller said, in a subliminal applause cue, so your audience goes crazy.
Now, on these card things that we've seen, I mean, classics, the Travelers, the Triumphs, the automatic...
yes, Triumph, by the way, I guess if I had to only do one card trick for the rest of my life, it would be Triumph, because it encompasses so much that a layman can't understand. The fact that all of those cards turn over and so forth, I think it's the perfect trick and possibly the most unexplainable trick for anybody.
And I guess for laymen, they realize, they get a sense that it's a trick that takes place with every card in the deck as far as they're concerned, and not just their selection.
Yeah, and another interesting thing, a very famous magician, who I won't mention his name, did the trick, and he did the shuffle and spread the cards immediately and said, there's your card. And you know, after you do the work, for the layman is when the trick begins.
Right.
And that's one of the things that is forgotten in the trick.
And I guess he just thought, okay, I've
Well, yeah,
done the
he
move,
did the
that's
work,
all
bang, there it is, but it starts after the shuffle.
To nail it down. I mean,
Well,
just
that's the sell is all after the shuffle.
yeah.
Vernon's Triumph is undoubtedly his greatest single card miracle. The effect and the Triumph Shuffle itself is a staple, definitely in the repertoire of every serious student of card magic. But believe it or not, Vernon didn't do the effect with the Triumph Shuffle. He did it with a strip-out shuffle. If you read the text in Stars of Magic, you'll discover that the Triumph Shuffle is in fact a simplified version of the strip-out shuffle that put it into the hands of the average magician. For completeness, I'm going to show you first the Triumph Shuffle. You grab the deck in preparation for a strip-out shuffle, or a table riffle shuffle, I should say. The only difference here being is that the bottom half is cut to the right instead of the top half. Cards are butted, the bottom half is turned face up, and table riffle shuffle, starting with the right-hand packet first and finishing up with the last card on the left packet. Cards are jammed home, and now the position changes. The left hand moves to the side for cover, and the forefinger presses lightly down on the top card. The right-hand cards are pushed forward, or at least they appear to be pushed in. In reality, let me show you what actually happens. The only card that moves is the top card. Without any cover, you can see that. Now the cards are stripped out and cut to the right, and the packet placed on top. And that's how the Triumph Shuffle is done. Now let me show you how the strip-out shuffle works. It starts out exactly the same way. The cards are cut to the right from the bottom, turned face up. Riffle shuffle together, but the only difference this time is the left-hand packet starts riffling first, and of course you still end up with the top card falling on to the top of the right-hand packet. This, of course, is the selection. The cards are now pushed home until they jam. Now the second fingers and third fingers are positioned here at the outer corners, the thumbs at the inner corners of the pack, and now the left hand relaxes as the right second finger pushes diagonally inward, and the cards jut out here at the back, as you can see. Now, a single card block transfer is performed, a very simple one, by just taking your right thumb and hitting the inner right corner. It causes the top card, the selection, to swing onto the face-up cards. Now, the second and third fingers and thumbs literally squeeze the packet like so, which squares them up, but at the same time, as you can see, it disturbs nothing. There are all of the face-up cards with the top card selection cover. On the right side of the pack, they still remain out. And here, of course, are all the face-down cards on the left-hand side. Now, your hands come over, and you almost completely cover the front of the pack. That's what makes the strip-out so deceptive. Now, you break the cards at a diagonal angle until you feel them clear, and now this packet is cut to the right. This, of course, is all the face-up cards with the one card cover, and the other packet, all the face-down cards, are placed on top. When they are, a break is maintained, and I mean a complete break all the way across the back. Now this next bit of business is an idea of mine, which is to do up the ladder with the face-up cards. And what I do is this. I bring them up from the break, and I step them to the right, and then immediately cut off a major portion of the undercards and align them with the left edge. Then I pick up everything here and place it on top. Now I actually do, and I'm going to show you once again, a double up the ladder. And this is what it kind of looks like, guys. It looks like this in real tempo. And that completes a wonderful illusion. They see face up and face down cards continually. Face up and face down cards continually. Now, this is Vernon's really beautiful thinking. He says some of the cards are face up, and he cuts shallow and shows some of the face up cards. Now he cuts deep as he says some of the cards are face down. At this point, he presses down with his forefinger on the top packet, then relaxes it so the cards will break at the natural point where they're back to back. And as he says, some cards are back to back. This next wonderful touch, subtlety, is Charlie Miller's. He spreads the card, the top card here, and he says, some are face to face. And I added this little touch, and I say, of course, I didn't get lucky, did I, in cut to your card. Now I return this, and of course, Vernon's brilliant facing move goes by everybody. These are turned on top, and in essence, everything is restored except for one card, the selection, and now you can go to your finish and spread the cards, and of course, there is their selection dead center while all the other cards are face down, and it's absolutely startling. Now I'd like to perform the entire effect from start to finish, controls and all, using Vernon's Triumph Shuffle. I begin by having a card selected. We'll assume it to be the 10 of diamonds. Now I dribble the cards from my right hand into my left, saying, please stop me whenever you want to. Or please say stop. When they stop, I have the card returned. The packet in my right hand is placed on top, but I do maintain a left little finger break above the selection. Now I say, many people shuffle cards and mix cards in different ways. Some just cut them. I cut short of my break, about half of the cards above it, to the table. Now I cut to the break, and then the last packet, which contains the selection, goes on top. Now I pick up the cards and give them an overhand shuffle, and I maintain the selection with a jog. Now there are many ways to jog cards. In fact, Erdnase has 5 or 6 methods, but there's one correct method which is often overlooked. This is what most people do when they jog cards. They undercut about half the deck, they shuffle one card and jog it back, and then continue shuffling off. That's not as good. That can be seen. Let me show you what actually happens. Again, here is the selection. When you undercut, this is the proper way to do it. When you undercut, the left thumb jogs the actual selection, and the cards are shuffled off on top of it. Why is this better? Watch it in real time. You won't notice the jog at all, because your hand watches the hand doing the greater movement. Look at it one more time, head on. Watch. Now, you press down on the jog and take a break above the card. Then you can turn the cards over once again, maintaining the break with your thumb, and reshuffle, leaving the selection on top when you reshuffle to the break. Now I table the cards, and I say some people mix them on a table like this. I cut to the right as a normal riffle shuffle. I shuffle, and I leave the last card fall from the left-hand packet over the selection. I square them, and here's a little subtlety of mine to get rid of this card. You know, the double undercut that's done in the hands actually came from Erdnase as a tabled double undercut, and it looked like this. The half the deck is undercut. Your left thumb drags on the selection, in this case, the top card, and moves it back like so. Your right thumb, I should say, moves it back like so. Your left thumb comes and picks up the card, and this is cut, and of course the selection comes right up to the top. Now watch it in real time. And of course, the selection remains on top. Now you perform the Triumph Shuffle. Of course, now you show some cards are face up by cutting shallow, some are face down by cutting deep, a little pressure here, and you cut to the natural break, showing them back to back, face to face. Of course, I didn't cut to your card. And by the way, this is the most important part about Triumph. You've done the work, but for the layman, this is when the trick begins. And I push it and punch it up by this. I say, now, the cards are face up, face down, back to back, face to face. In general, they're completely mixed up. What was the name of your card? They say the 10 of diamonds. I say, watch. I snap my fingers, spread the pack for the most startling denouement in card magic. Thank you. You know, I got interested in magic through kind of a back door. When I was a boy of 8, I saw a movie about a Mississippi riverboat gambler, and I didn't want to be a magician. I wanted to be a professional card cheater. It was a great movie, and he had a Derringer hat and a frock coat and a brocade vest, and it looked so romantic, and I said, that's what I want to be, a professional card cheater. And I went out and I bought a book called Expert at the Card Table. And it teaches you how to cheat at cards, how to false shuffle and bottom deal and second deal and all those wonderful things. And I spent 4 years trying to master as much as I could in the book until I came to the rude awakening there weren't too many places for a 12-year-old card cheater to work, you know, unless you want to work for bubble gum and things. And then I looked in the back of the book, and it said legerdemain, which was French for magic, and I learned how to apply these gambling moves to magic. But I've always been interested in gambling, so I'd like to show you a couple of gambling games. Now, this one happens to be very, very old. Let me get this chain untangled. This is a swindle, if you'd like to call it that. I call it a nice, honest, fair game. This was played on boats. This game goes back about 500 or 600 years. It predates craps and blackjack and all the wonderful games. And it's a very simple game in that you have only a 50-50 chance of winning or losing. So that's not too bad, you see. I'm going to show you. It's been called the endless chain, the figure eight. A misnomer is called pricking the garter because that was done with somebody's belt. It's a little different. And I've done this with ladies' double strands of pearls. And so you can do it with anything as long as it's an endless chain. Now I'm going to show you how the game works, okay? You see, it's called the figure eight because it looks like a figure eight. Now, there's a losing side and a winning side. You have to pick which is which, you see. Now, I'm going to show you what a win looks like. Put your finger there, David. If I trap that finger, you see, with the chain and the end, that's a win.
Okay.
You may let go. You haven't won anything yet, you know. It's just a run-through, for God's sake. So, now, I'm also going to show you what a lose looks like. I can put that win or lose on either side, see. Now, put your finger in there again. Now you see, that's what a lose feels like, okay? All right, so you see there's a difference. And I can put it on either side, you see. Now, this was taught to me by a racetrack tout, but he never told me why you win and lose. I'm going to show you something that nobody ever gets to see, why you lose. Now, this is the lose over here. Put your finger in there for a moment. Well, take it out, and I'm going to show you why you lose. You see, when you take that, you see that there's no loop there at all. There's the actual end. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, so if you were to put your finger in there, and I were to pull, of course, you're going to lose. Now, who would like to play?
Me.
Good. What do you want to put up, David? I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it nice and easy for you. I'm going to give you a gambling game you can't even get up here in Lake Tahoe or Reno or Las Vegas. I'm going to put up the money for you. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 chances to win. Okay. Now, okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Here's the figure eight. Now, you have to guess which side the win is. Take a guess.
Let's bet one of them.
Yes, of course. I didn't think you were going to go on one shot with all 3. Let's get a little hefty. I'll put it right over here.
Okay. This one.
It looks very good. It's looking good. It's looking good. It's, let's. Thank you, David. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, David. Here, once again. Now,
Got that right.
David, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Put one finger in each one of those. Okay. Okay, put one here. Now, and
one
what
side is winner and one
what,
side is loser.
Yeah. Now raise one of your fingers. Take one out of play altogether. Put it off to the side. Which one are you going to do? He's thinking about it. That's it.
Wait a minute.
David, the game goes a lot faster than this. You know.
This one.
That one.
That one.
Okay, David. Oh, David, I'm sorry. Oh, all right. Thank you, David. I'll tell you what, I'll put that back. Now, David,
Yes.
this is your last opportunity.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something about the game, okay? You see, there are some people who think it doesn't really matter which one you put in, it's which one of the chains you pull. And they could be right. You never know. So I'll tell you what. We'll have someone else pull the chain after you decide which one to, which figure eight you're going to put that one. Would you do the pulling? Which chain would you like her to pull? This one or this one?
Pull this one.
Okay.
This one in. Slow.
Oh, I think he's got it.
Slow.
Oh, David. David. Just so you don't go home feeling bad, David, I'm going to show you something. This is the positive. You see, I'm going to come right around here like that, and now that's a definite winner because you know that's the end, you see, and I'm going to prove it to you, see. It can't be anything else but that, okay?
Right.
Okay, we're going to do it again, all right? Now keep your eye on it. I'm just going to do exactly the same thing like so. Put your finger in there. Okay. All right, David, here we go. 1, 2, 3. David, maybe you ought to take up Mahjong. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you're better at cards, fellas. Now, do you know much about how they cheated cards at all? Well, no, they do more than just spend them. That's only for blackjack, but we're going to talk about poker. In fact, I'm going to show you. Let me make sure I don't have any other jokers in here. And I want you to see it's a regular pack of playing cards. I'm going to take out, let's see, I'll take out the aces so that we can have some fun. Okay. And good, David. Great. Okay. Now, the way they cheated cards is to call, people think it's called stacking cards. You know, you've heard they stack the cards against me. It's actually, the term is called stocking, you see, because it's in the way you stock the cards during a shuffle. You think they're shuffling the cards, but they're really putting them in a position to give themselves a great hand. And the method they use is called the Hamo shuffle. It's very, very old. It looks like a real shuffle, but I'll kind of slow it down a little. You can actually see they only run one card at a time, see. Now, when you do this, if you're going to cheat, they generally do it with 3 aces or 3 kings or whatever we're going to cheat with. If they want the 4th one, which is, pretty hard to win 4, people go, wow, if you're going to win 4, that's a very strong win. But if they do, they put that on the bottom, see. Now, I'll show you the Hamo shuffle again. Now, they have mathematics involved, If we're playing in, let's say, a 5-card game, 5 hands, then they're going to do this. Here's the mathematics. You double the amount of players and add 1, which in a 5-handed game would be 11. So you run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. That's how simple it is. Now, they run 1 less than the amount of cards. Of course, they would just continually do this. They're not explaining how it's done, But they would run 1 less, which would be 4. They go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the number of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1, and then the number of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, you also have to have somebody who knows exactly how to cut the cards to the right spot. That's the hard part, see. And then you deal the cards out. And I'll do this very slowly and very deliberately, like so. Now, there's only one problem when you do something like this. You can never guarantee what the other guys are going to get. I mean, you can absolutely guarantee that you're going to win, as I said, see, by that stock shuffling. But let's examine the other hand. Wait, I can appreciate a hand or two. It wasn't easy. But here, for instance, well, there's nothing there, maybe if you were a guy who likes an inside straight, but you know what the odds are on that. Let's check this hand. That's a pair of 6s. He might stay in, but I don't think he'd stay in for once the betting started going. Here's Now this guy would stay. He's got a possible open end. But so far, we're not dealing with too much going there. Two bad hands, really. And this one doesn't have a pair of kings. You know, he may stay, but none of them would stay beyond the first round. You couldn't get enough money out of them to do that, you know. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be a hustler, you have to find a better method than that. You know, let's get all the rest of these back. Now, the way they do it these days, that's the old method. I told you, I learned this when I was a boy of 12 from a book that was written in 1902. Today, you know, they do all of this wonderful shuffling at the table. Let me show you what I'm talking about, like so, see? And they give them some of these fancy cuts like this, and another shuffle, and I will give them one last cut. Now that's all it takes. Let me deal these out like so. And the thing I'm going to try and do here is not only control my 4 cards, or 5 cards, I should say, but everybody else's card while I was shuffling the deck. Now this guy over here gets a flush, -1 card, so we can keep him in a heart flush, as a matter of fact. This fellow over here would be, or this young lady, if it were the case, 2 pairs, queens and 10s. Definitely you're going to stay in that hand, possible full house. This guy's got 2 pairs of deuces, 4 of a kind. Not bad in a game of aces wild, guys, you know. This one over here, this is the one guy. What is your name?
Don.
Don. It's always a guy like Don who stays in with a darn lousy opener, pair of jacks. He's the opener, you know. And then we have the honest dealer guys, but we'll talk about him later, okay? Now, this guy, what would you have him do? Take 1 card?
Right.
Absolutely, see? So he takes 1 card. And,
Wait a minute.
well, yeah, that's not going to help, but that sure did. You got a king-high flush. Yeah, now you're a lot happier. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm trying to help him. He's trying to go, wait a minute.
Okay.
What would you do, Tanya, with this hand? I think I would take this, wouldn't you? Yeah, darn right. And you did it very well, because you're going to get a full house, queens full. Marilee, do you want to take a hit or stay? You want to stand pat?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's always Don. You're going to take 3 cards. I know this is the guy that's always the troublemaker here, you see. 1, 2, 3. And they're good cards.
Oh.
A full house. This is you've kind of got in my way, you know, which means I'm probably going to have to take 1 card. You know, if you had dropped out, somebody else would have won, because if you had taken, well, they don't allow you to take 4 cards, but if you'd taken 1 more, you would have kind of messed me up real badly, because you would have got the other ace, which makes my full, my full, not a full house, but it certainly makes a straight flush, a royal flush for me, guys, royal flush for me.
Always love to see the endless chain. You sure don't see that very often these days, but it's a great effect.
Well, it's one of those wonderful things that laymen like, because there's a gambling theme. If you just do the endless chain without a premise, then there's a problem. It was really George Blake, who wrote the book Loopy Loop, who found the correct premise of being able to make a bet every time. Now it turns it into something that has
and have it
holdability.
progress.
Yes, and you just win every time. You never let them win. You
And,
know,
and
that's
again, one of those things where they're part of the effect. I mean, it's not just something that they watch. They
I've never
experience.
had a problem with an audience staying attentive to that. They always believe that they have a chance. The Blake version, which is what I do, has that wonderful touch where you show them why they lose. And then they understand it and they see a loop. Then they don't conceive that there's nowhere they can win. You
Right.
understand? Yeah, unless you want them to. Also, in the explanation, I'm going to show another form of it, which was called the flower. In fact, Fred Lowe built a whole routine on it. Although I didn't demonstrate it, I think it's something just for everyone to understand, because it's another whole way of doing it.
Great.
The endless chain is a true classic gambling effect. Of course, it's a swindle. There's no way anyone can win unless you want them to. There's 2 basic patterns, a win pattern and a lose pattern. I'll show you the win pattern. You grasp the chain on the right end with your 4 fingers and thumb. You bring it back towards yourself, and you're going to deposit this loop over here. But as you're bringing this around, your hand turns palm upward as you drop it. Now you square this up. Now this is the original pattern that was shown for many, many years. George Blake realized if people were to put their finger here and here, they would get a win. So he eliminated them by saying, this is of course called the figure eight. Now he eliminates these altogether. This is the win side. In both the win and lose patterns, this side always loses. So you always demonstrate the win on the left half of the figure eight. And it will trap your finger, and that is a win. Now I'm going to show you the losing pattern. Picked up exactly the same way. The only difference is you don't turn your hand palm upward. You leave it palm downward. This causes this extra twist they don't realize is there, and that affords us with a lose pattern on both sides. That's a lose pattern. Now there's one more thing I should point out. In demonstrating the win pattern, you're going to do what I call the convincer. You're going to explain to them why they lose. Of course, you choose the side that always loses to do this. You put your finger here, and you show them why they lose, because there's really no loop there. The loop is only here on the win side. Of course, you lead them to believe you can have the win appear on both sides. That's not really true. So, you do this, and of course you show a loss. Now there's one other thing that you want to do. After you've done the effect, I only do it 3 times, and George Blake is also the one who discovered to make this commercial was to either add money. My friend Bob Sheets uses $100 poker chips, but you give them apparently the opportunity to win. Of course, they never get a chance to win. After they've lost all 3, you say, I'd like you to know what it's like to really win, so let me show you in the simplest form. Now, you put your finger straight down on this end, you bring it around like so, and you drop the loop here. Now, this is a win situation. In reality, it's still a figure eight, but you don't tell them that, you see, like so. Let me do that one more time. You don't discuss the figure eight at all. You say, this is as simple as it can be. I'm just going to take this and drop it here. Now you place your finger here and you show that it's a win. Now as you relax, notice my right finger is now under the chain, not in the loop. It's under the loop. And you do the same thing. This causes that twist that they don't realize is there for a lose situation. And of course, when they put their finger here and you pull the chain, you get a complete loss for the finish of your routine. I'd like to show you one other famous pattern. It's not the figure eight. It's called the flower. You go in a counterclockwise direction and you make 3 loops with the chain like so. You pick up the back of this and you're going to create what kind of looks like a tulip. There's a very important thing about a twist in the chain. If you twist the chain like so, all 3 of these then will become a pattern that loses. In this case, a lose for the flower is getting trapped, not getting free. Now I'll show you the very same thing. It looks exactly the same. You make your 3 loops counterclockwise, but this time, as you grab the chain back here, it's twisted to your left instead of to your right. And now you're going to get what is apparently a win in any one of the 3. Enjoy it. You'll have a great time performing the endless chain.
What a pleasure to see the poker deal, the Dai Vernon poker routine, where there's a progression, everybody's involved, it's not a single thing.
Well, it's again, like I was saying with the endless chain, anytime you get a gambling theme, people really do like that. And when they think they're getting something that's in the know, which is really a setup for you to do everything, it holds their attention completely.
Yeah, and it really goes someplace.
Yeah, and they feel they're
seems
getting some real
impossible.
information.
Right.
You know, it's like going to a movie, and every so often you say, gee, I bet that's what it's really like to be a tennis player. Well, it has that feeling. They really feel they're coming away with a little something extra. The Vernon poker demonstration, of course, will make you a real hero with the layman when they say things like, boy, I'd really hate to play cards with you. Of course, it takes a setup, and this is how it goes. We happen to have a flush up here, -1 card, 2 pairs, 4 deuces, 4 of a kind, 2 jacks, 3 indifferent cards, and 4/5 of a royal flush. Then there's the king of hearts, the queen of hearts, and the 4 aces. You begin your setup by picking the cards one at a time, all the way down in sequence, like so. This will allow them to be dealt out in perfect order. Once the cards are gathered, you now add the king, and Vernon put a crimp in the queen during play. I don't. I put in, for want of a better word, what is called a reverse breather. The breather crimp, of course, is that you crimp it in this direction, but a reverse breather is done with the back of the cards, and you do this. You run your thumbs like this and in this direction, and this, of course, causes a bubble. It's almost like the will deceive crimp, which they used to take a quarter and press in the center of it and, of course, cause a bump in the center. Now, this will cut the cards perfectly at that queen. The aces are then added throughout the pack, and you're ready to perform. You can either start with the effect, or you can, if you're very adept at deck switching, you can switch a deck. I don't bother. I just do it right out of the box. You talk about the fact that people are always interested in stacking cards, and then you offer to show them how it's done. You remove the 4 aces as you're saying that, and you explain about the fact that the best form of stacking cards is to use the old Haymo shuffle. So what you first do before you add the aces is run 4 cards demonstrating apparently the Haymo shuffle, and you throw the rest of the deck on top. Now you say that if you want to get 3 of a kind, that's very easy. You keep the cards on top. If you need that 4th card, it goes to the bottom. Now you continue demonstrating the Haymo shuffle. You say, well, the mathematics are simply this. In a 5-handed game, for instance, you double the players and add 1. That would be 11. Now you run 11 cards singly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But you throw them back on top. And to cover that, you say, see how simple that is. Now you say you run 1 less than the amount. 1, 2, 3, 4 of players. Then you run the amount of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1, and then the amount of players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The stacking is now done. Now what you do is you cut to your crimp, and the breather crimp makes this very simple, and you deal out your hands. Now, at the end of this, of course, you turn over your hand and show the 4 aces, and then you explain there is a problem in this type of stacking because you can't guarantee what the other hands are going to be. And then you demonstrate. Now you can say, well, see, there is 2 pairs, this guy would stay. But on the other hand, that single pair of 3s, he might stay for 1 round, but I don't think he'll stay in for any heavy betting. This hand really is nothing. And of course, this hand is 2 pair. Now, in this instance, you may have 2 players that stay beyond 1 round of betting, but they're not really dynamite hands in a regular poker game. Now, as you're explaining this, you gather up these cards, turn them face down, you add the ace of spades and then the other 3 aces, and of course now you put your stack on top of the deck. Now you perform a false shuffle. I prefer the Herb Zero shuffle, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. This is a shuffle that's been not demonstrated well in print. You see, in the Vernon Book of Magic, the shuffle looks something like this for the picture, and that's not how you do the shuffle. Let me show you the correct way. You cut about half the cards, you riffle shuffle, and this is all the cover that it actually takes, just that corner of the card. Now, the other important thing is that you turn both hands as they go in. Now, let me do it at tempo and show you that you'll get complete cover at this, and it looks like a real shuffle. That's all there is to it. Now, in this demonstration, I did move one card out of line because I was demonstrating it, so let me put it back in place, which should be right here. Now I will do it in 2 phases and show you how it works. The first phase, I cut to the right, I do the 0 shuffle, and I hold a break in the back like so. Then I up the ladder, the bottom half like so, so I don't have to cut to the left, which is not correct. And I cut now to the right and do a second 0 shuffle, hold the break again, and then cut to that break and apparently give it a straight cut. Now you can deal the cards out and you're prepared for the finish. As I said, this is the most remarkable gambling demonstration, and it definitely is astounding to your audience. Now you demonstrate here, and it's always nice to call the hand before you turn it over. You say, in this hand I've dealt them a flush, -1 card. This hand is 2 pairs, queens and 10s. 2 pair over here of 4s, actually 4 of a kind, which is great. This is Vernon's line, in a hand of aces wild. Over here is the proverbial fellow who always sticks into the game with just a lousy pair. And of course, now you don't show them your hand except for the bottom card, you say, and then there's the honest dealer. Now you ask the person over here what they would do, and of course you even suggested, if they're not a poker player, to take 1 card. You discard, and now you say, and of course they complete their flush with a king. The same thing occurs here, and of course now they have queens full. Now you can ask this person if they want to take the card or not. If you can bottom deal, well then it's a simple matter to bottom deal the next card. If you're not a bottom dealer, don't give him the chance. Just say, of course this fellow's going to stand pat. He doesn't want to tip the fact that he has 4 of a kind. And then you talk about this gentleman who's going to stay in regardless of the betting. And now you deal him, of course, the 3 aces. Now they think you've lost your control because they expect you to be dealing the 4 aces again. And of course, you discard the 4 of diamonds and deal the case ace of spades. And now you say, of course, if he had gone for 1 more card, which he couldn't, he would have eliminated my winning altogether, because that allowed me to get the ace of spades, the king of spades, of course, the queen of spades, the jack of spades for a complete royal flush. I want to show you a wonderful trick that's been around since the turn of the century, invented by a magician named Max Mullaney. I'll just use 4 of these. 4 sugar. Would you take one? Would you take one? David, would you take one? Tanya, would you take one? Would you guys unwrap those, please? While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a little story, all right? It's about a Polish guy who gets a job in a Polish neighborhood as a bartender. And he's on the job 1 hour, see? And his boss is scrutinizing his work, and he says, "You're a very good bartender," he says, "which makes me very happy because you have to run the bar yourself today." And the guy said, "Oh, really?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "There's nothing to worry about except, I tell you what, we have a group that comes in. I have to leave this afternoon to put the receipts in. We have a group of hearing impaired people who unwrap your cubes. Hearing impaired people who come in, and because they can't talk, we use it sign language. So if they do this, they want a beer, and if they do that, they want a shot." He said, "Let me get this straight. This is a beer, this is a shot." He says, "Yes." He says, "I can handle that." Well, 230 in pour 75 of these hearing impaired people, and they're giving them this and this and this and this. That's that's a Boilermaker, you know, in a Polish neighborhood. And the guy's doing great. He's pouring the beers, pouring the shots. All of a sudden, the guy walks up and does this. The bartender says, "Wait a minute, this is a beer, this is a shot." He ignores the guy, goes back to pouring the beers and the shots. A few minutes go by, and the guy does it again. For a joke, the bartender does it back. But when the bartender does it back, all of a sudden, one over here starts, and one over here. In 10 minutes, the whole place is doing this. In walks his boss. He takes one look around, and he says, "Now that you got them singing, we'll never get them out." May I have the sugar cubes? Yours broke. That's why we have more, David. Okay. I don't have to tell another joke, do I, for God's sake?
No, please.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. David, you've messed the entire table up. Okay. Okay. All right. Good.
This one.
Very good. Now this is called Chink-a-Chink, and that's the only words Max ever used. Now you can cover any of these, but I'm going to cover these. Watch. Chink-a-chink, one jumps. I'll do it again. You can actually see it happen. Watch. Here's one more. Watch, like that. This is the hard way. It's called the bank shot. 1, 2, 3, 4 lumps of sugar. Very good. I kept telling you guys, this stuff is perfect. Can I borrow a dollar bill from somebody?
I don't know.
No, I'm not going to duplicate him. I'm going to
Brand
make
new.
it into a piece of magic for you guys. I will turn this into a magical horn of plenty. This is called, you have now, you see, would you show us that ring a minute while I'm doing this? Can they get a close-up on that? Somebody here in the crowd, I think we have a magician or two here. I can kind of tell. But someone made that wonderful thing. That's called origami, and this is what I'm doing. I'm making a horn of plenty, and that is a ring. In fact, if I could do that, I wouldn't be doing this stuff, guys. It's much tougher. And that's it. And we're going to use this. Whose bill is this? Is this yours,
Mine.
David? Okay, you didn't forget, huh?
No, I won't.
Yeah, I couldn't get you to go anything when we were gambling earlier, for God's sake. Okay, let me just make sure that's correct. I tilt that end in, and we should be in business. Okay. Now, it's not the best bill I've ever used, David, but it is okay. It's going to work. Now, I'd like to give you some collateral for that. Once we get it nice and open and round, okay. If I can get it out of my pocket, hold out your hand. Would you count those into my hand one at a time?
1, 2,
Mm-hmm.
3, 4, 5, 6.
6. And would you look inside this and make sure there's nothing in the bill, okay, please?
Right.
Would you stick it on my thumb? Would you hold your right hand palm downward about 6 inches above the table? Here, I'll give you a little bit of a hand, like so. Now, let me square those up nice and neatly. Okay. I'm going to cover them with a dollar bill. Now, you can feel them on the back of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
If I went to touch them or move them or change them, you'd be the very first one to know it. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay. I'm going to count to 3 and magic will happen. But before we do that, let's prove to everyone that they're still there and that there's absolutely nothing inside that dollar bill. I'm going to do 3 things and magic will happen. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know you're not so surprised. You still feel something on the back of your hand. Well, that's the part I don't understand, see? Where the pennies come from. It's the damnedest thing you've ever seen. You can have your bill back, David. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to do a card trick. Would you mind taking those out of the box? And your name is?
Rhonda.
Rhonda. Good. Thank you. And I'm going to go through and take out a few cards. 5 cards to be exact. And we'll do a wonderful piece of mind reading with this. A very lovely piece of mind reading. Let me see if I got them in the right order. Okay, change that. We're in business. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. I'll square them up, and I'm going to show them to you. It's Mary, am I correct? There's an ace of spades, a deuce of spades, a tray of spades. A tray? Yes. A 4 of spades and a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of spades. Now watch very, very carefully. I'm going to put the cards under the table. It's a very tough trick because it's very dark under here. And I'm going to take out one card and I'm going to place it onto the deck. And now we only have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. I'd like you to think of one of those cards, either the ace, the deuce, the tray, the 4, or the 5. What card are you thinking of? The 5. You're thinking of the 5. It's the damnedest thing you've ever seen. That's the only card that's missing, friends. The only card that's missing. Thank you. It gets better. It gets better. I'll put them under again, and this time I'm going to take out a card, like so. And what is your name? Kim. Kim. I only have 1, 2, 3 cards. What card are you thinking of?
The deuce.
The deuce. That's very, very interesting because that's the only card that's missing. Can you see that? The only card. I'm going to do it again. Thank you. Okay, that's 3 cards. Now we're just down to 2 cards, you know. Don, would you think of, now we either have the ace, the 3, or the 4?
The 3.
The 3. Wonderful, Don. I'm glad you thought of that. The 3, that happens to be the only one that's missing. Now, thank you. Okay. Now we just have the ace and the 4, am I correct? The ace and the 4. Now we're down to 1 card. And David, I'd like you to remember either the ace or the 4. Remember one and forget the other, okay?
Okay.
What card are you remembering?
The ace.
You're remembering the ace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be the card I would have put down, because you forgot. The only card left we can't put down is the 4, which is the one you forgot, you see. But if I'm correct, remember, that was the ace that you selected, and of course it was the 3 that Don selected, and it was the deuce that Mary selected, and the very first one, of course, was the 5. Thank you.
Well, there's another blast from the past, a little Max Malini, Chink-a-Chink.
Well, I'm a classical magician, so I love classical magic. Chink-a-Chink is one of those great tricks that you can do almost anywhere with a lot of different objects. And it was taught to me by Charlie Miller, who learned it from Max and saw Max do it many times. The problem was I changed the ending inadvertently. I wouldn't try to improve Mulaney, but Charlie stressed so much that the hands never crossed. The hands never crossed. And we were running for a plane. He was late as usual in Chicago. I drove him to the airport, ran him out to the gate, and he decided to stop and teach me this on a radiator cover. Now, I didn't have any props. His hands moved here and here, and I got confused when he said the finish was a bank shot. Actually, Mulaney went from the upper left position to the lower left and then over to the upper right in a bank shot. But Charlie was moving around, and I thought he drew the sugar cube over here, a bank shotted it from lower right to lower left and then up to upper right. Now, 2 years go by, and I showed this to Charlie, and he says, "Where did you get that finish? That's great." And I said, "You showed it to me." And he said, "No, I never showed this to you." And then I understood what the confusion was. But I ended up with a finish that Charlie thought was even better than Max's, which is a very high compliment.
Which really clarifies that ending moment.
Well, it clarified the fact that there's no cover because the hands always stay away and all of the moves. It's wonderful.
Right, well, let's take a look at it.
Okay. I've been performing Mulaney's Chink-a-Chink for over 30 years. The routine I'm going to show you is absolutely based on the original Mullaney routine, which never received print until my lecture notes, Polished Polish Prestidigitation. Of course, it uses 4 sugar cubes and, unknown to the audience, a 5th sugar cube. Now, this is a special cube in a design of my own. I wanted to be able to pass these out, tell a few jokes, be a raconteur while they were unwrapping them. So I wanted to have a 5th wrap cube that could also be unwrapped. And this is how you prepare it. You take one of the wrappers off of the sugar cubes, and you cut out the center section, which is this point here. Then you glue it to an unwrapped cube, the very cube you take out of the paper, with rubber cement, you see. Now, if you set that down, it looks like a wrapped cube because the sides are all white, and if it's on this side, it looks like an unwrapped cube. Now you're ahead of them. This, of course, this goes into your jacket pocket over here, your right pocket. The other cubes go into your left pocket. I always carry about 5 or 6 cubes in there in case sometimes these break, sometimes anything can happen, so you must have a few extra cubes. Now you start like this. You start talking about the routine. I go to reach in my pocket to find the sugar cubes. Actually, they always tell you in deck switches and anything like this, you put both hands in. I find this really works better as I'm talking. I'm apparently searching for something. That gives me an excuse for the movement of palming the extra sugar cube. And then I realize they're apparently in this pocket. Now you bring them on out. And if you have an extra cube, it gives you an excuse to put it back in your pocket. That way you can set one in palm position, and you display them to the people on your right. Now you do the palm transfer, and I'm going to point out something that's very important about the palm transfer. If somebody's sitting here and you turn your hand, they can sometimes see this being palmed. So T. Nelson Downs worked out a marvelous way of doing this. He closes the hand with the hidden object into a loose fist and drops those through the top. There's no way anyone can see this, and now you can open that loosely and show them. Now you have somebody select a cube. Now people worry, magicians in particular, if they're going to grab that cube. They're not going to do that. They don't know what's going to happen. You're just showing them sugar cubes. You say, would you take a cube? They're going to take the most convenient one that's close enough to them. The next person takes one. Now you do the palm transfer once again. This person over here takes one, and this one takes one. Now they unwrap them, and you can, if you're a fine storyteller, tell a story or two. You can talk about the effect itself until they're wrapped. Now, let me get some cubes that are already unwrapped so we don't have to go through that problem, and I'll get rid of these entirely. Once these are unwrapped, you see, they're placed into a pattern about a foot apart. And you notice they're not square. I turn them inward like so, a little diagonally. That's because it allows me to palm them easier. Now, here's what the pattern looks like. You're going to go from here to here, here to here, then you're going to go across, and I'll show you the final phase. But before we go into that, I'd like to show you the palming techniques. Now, when Max did this, so he didn't come down and palm like this, and you can actually see that happen. He would bring his thumb inward so it was in palming position, and when it came on down like this, he could just come straight on up and pick it up with no movement whatsoever. And it's wonderful. But Fred Capps found an even better way of doing it. Fred would just flatten his hand out, and because of the granulations, the sugar cube, when you relax and bring your hand up, sticks automatically. I wanted to also create the illusion that my hands didn't always come down on the table or onto the cubes. So I developed a method wherein the hands appear to be above the cubes at times. Now, in releasing one, it's very simple. You have the palm cube, and when you spread your finger and thumb, it drops down. And of course, let me point out, see, it looks like an unwrapped cube, even though it's the gimmick. So by spreading your thumb and second finger, it falls perfectly, and you don't have to do anything. The palming is a little more difficult and takes a little cover or shade. That's why it's generally done with these in the back. They're really looking out here. What happens is I drop the heel of my hand to the table and I spread my thumb and second finger till I feel it hit the sugar cube. Then I draw them back up like so, and it picks up the cube. Now let me go through the routine and show you the various palms. I start out first with Fred's palm. And I say I can cover these or I could cover these. I'll cover these too. Watch. I say the magic words chink-a-chink and magic happens. Now this is important. You come to a rest position. This is what Max did. A little anecdote or a little story about this is Scotty York showed this to me many years ago. But he did the 4 passes in the length of time I just do one. He went chink-a-chink, 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 chink-a-chink. You're really throwing the effect. This is startling to an audience. Let them absorb it for a moment. Now you do the next phase. And this time I use my pass, you see, and I say chink-a-chink. And I come back and I rest again. Now we go back to Fred's, and now it's going to jump from left to right, and we do this, chink-a-chink. Now what Max actually did was this. Max would come in and he would say, chink-a-chink, and have a jump here, and he'd say, chink-a-chink, and have a jump there. I lost this in Charles Miller's explanation to me. I was going to an airport when Charlie taught this to me. Of course, he learned it exactly as Max did it from Max. We were late for a plane, as always is when you're dealing with Charlie Miller. It's always the last minute. And on our way to the plane, he stopped and decided he was going to show this routine to me. And he did it on a Radiator cover. And he just went through the motions. And somehow I thought, and of course when Mulaney did this, he called it a bank shot. And I thought he drew it here and did the bank shot. And 2 years later, I finally showed Charlie the routine and how I was doing it. And he said, "Where did you get that finish? That's great." And I said, "You taught it to me." He says, "I never taught that to you." And then he showed me. He said, "No, Max went from here to here." I said, "Well, I guess I got it wrong." He said, "Keep it. It's even better than the other finish." Because I wouldn't ever try to improve Max Mulaney. It was purely by accident that I did. So here is the last phase. You have this palm. You go over and you draw this over here. You see, now you're not going to look like your hands are crossing, because the reason I thought this, Charlie said Max's hands never crossed one another. And this was what I thought happened. And of course, your hands don't cross. You say, "I'm going to do a bank shot on the last one." Chink-a-chink, chink-a-chink. And of course, now you bring your hands to the rest position, you lap the last cube, and now you can bring your hands out in a gesture and finish your effect.
Now, there's something you don't see very often these days, the cap and pence.
That's right. I think it's one of the best kept secrets in magic. I only know a handful of people who do it. A lot of people do the Ramsey cap and pence, but I think the Leipzig Pride is far more commercial. I've never had laymen who didn't react to it tremendously.
Just because of the personal,
the personal
difference, as opposed to
yes.
this is a showpiece.
And all the props can be borrowed, apparently. That's the great thing about it. I mean, I've done it impromptu, and I've also done it apparently impromptu, I should say, and also brought out the props. I discarded the cone years ago in favor of the Kaplan, the fold out of the Kaplan book, The Fine Art of Magic, which was done with $1 bill, so it made it really easy.
Very
I could borrow
natural and organic, and
yes.
just take some things out of your pocket.
Well, or from people, you borrow 6 quarters, borrow a bill, and you're into it. The props necessary for the cap and pence, and the routine I do, are a $1 bill, 6 quarters, a pin stack, which is available in the magic shops, 6 pennies that go inside the stack, like so, a change purse, and a gimmick that was actually shown to me by Jim Summers. Because when you keep these in your pocket and have to go get them, invariably one of the 2 coins might slip out, and you're going to have to fumble when you're trying to steal these secretly. So what I do is this. You take a rubber band, attach it to a safety pin, tie it off so it's there's a nice tight band there that will fit precisely around these. And now these can hang in your coat, And you can get them, you know, they hang so that the pennies are towards the outside of the pocket. So when you go in, you can grab that. They come right on off like so, and your hand can come out, and everything is fine. So that's, of course, attached in your pocket. Also in the pocket are the 6 quarters, and you're ready to perform. Quarters are in the change purse. I'm going to set this aside just for a moment so I can show you the Kaplan billfold from the Fine Art of Magic. Normally this is done with a leather cone. That's the way Leipzig did it. You know, this trick was such a wonderful trick that Leipzig would never perform it around other magicians. That's why it's been called Leipzig's pride. He felt it was that dynamic in effect. I'm going to show you the Kaplan fold because this allows me to do this impromptu. I can borrow a bill. I can borrow 6 quarters. I don't always have to bring out my quarters. Let me show you the bill fold. You fold the bill exactly in half and crease it very hard like so. Now you open it up and you're going to make a diagonal fold from the halfway point to that corner. And this first fold has to be as precise as possible. So you want to make sure you're exactly at that halfway point. It's very easy to do. Then you fold this to the center, like so, and always crease these. Now, if it's done correctly, you'll see this fold takes care of itself. This one should line up perfectly here, and that's what you want to do. That's why that first fold is very important. These corners have to line up. And this folds over. Now, you hold these by folding this tab back like so, creasing it, and then you can fold this one back and they match. But I find that there's an addition. You see, these loose pieces inside can hang up for you, and they may catch on the stack. You don't want that to happen. So instead of the Kaplan fold, which was like this, I added this little thing where I just fold this inward like so. Now that keeps a nice clean interior. Nothing's going to hang up. Now you kind of try and form it a little conical like so. The wonderful thing about this over and above the leather cone, in my estimation, is that it's curved, as you can see. Michael, can we use your hand for a moment? And that it's curved to fit exactly on the hand because our hands are curved. All right, that's the Kaplan fold. I also suggest while you're doing this, I talk, of course, about origami. If you're kind of a raconteur, you might want to tell a joke because it can be very boring to watch someone just fold this. But that can be part of the entertainment. Now you go into your pocket, and when you go in, you're going to steal this, of course, off the rubber band as you bring out the collateral for the bill, as I call it. And you drop that into their hand. You put this back into your pocket. You pick up the cone as you say, would you mind counting those into my hand? Now, I tilt my hand so he's forced to kind of put those almost in finger palm position. And let me stop a moment. Sometimes they put it here. I'll shift it down to finger palm position so they see where I want them to be placed without having to ask them. They count them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now you look at the bill and you say, I'd like you to look inside the bill and make sure there's nothing in there. As they do that, you're going to perform the switch. And this is not a move. If you try and make it a move, it's not going to work. It's very simple. Watch what happens. They're in finger palm position. I come on over here. I allow these to fall onto my fingers, and I just pretend to pick them up, and I close my hand. There's nothing, no move about this at all. It just is that. That's how simple it is. You hold them between your thumb and forefinger, and I immediately turn and say, would you mind putting that on my thumb? Now, would you hold your right hand palm downward, open the fingers straight out, about 6 inches above the table. Here, I'll help you. That gives you an excuse to grab their hand. And now you place it on the back of their hand. They can be, you look at them, you can, the nice thing about the stack is that you can kind of set it up. They see the coins move. Now you place this directly over them. And now you point out, this is a very important part of the routine, a very important part of the routine. You say, you can feel those coins under the back of your hand, can't you? But the rest of us are not really assured they're there. Let me prove it. There are the coins, and I want to point out there's nothing inside the dollar bill. And now you say, I'm going to do 3 things and magic will happen. Now you stroke their wrist, you twist the top a little bit, and you pull on the fingers, and the coins fall. Now you say, I know you still feel something on the back of your hand, don't you? Well, that's the part I don't understand. Now you come on over, and you can grab this with either the second finger or the forefinger and thumb, like so. You lift off the stack. And as they see this, you curl your fingers in and allow the stack to fall into finger palm position and immediately flip the bill onto the table. And you can come back and lap the stack if you want, or just maintain it as you pour the pennies down. Now I'd like to show you one other little touch that Leipzig used. When you can have it, he used an ashtray, an opaque ashtray of some form. I'm going to use a plate, and we'll just go back to the last piece of business. And I'll show you why this is kind of important. Leipzig thought the sound of the coins falling on the plate was very, very important to the effect. So we'll put these back on the back of your hand. Apparently, now I actually have these hidden. The stack is on the back of your hand once again, and we're just about ready for the denouement. So this is covered. You say, I'm going to do 3 things. You strike the wrist, you touch the cone, and you pull. Sometimes if it sticks, I do that, you see. And I say, you still feel something on the back of your hand. Now you do this particular move. You show the pennies, let them fall onto the table. And this is Leipzig's idea. He catches the coin on his 3rd finger, and he picks up the plate, and he hides the coin. Your hands are empty. You can dump everything onto the table. You go back with this to get the purse, and you're 100% clean at the end of the effect.
Well, Dr. Jacob Daly.
Yes, that's Daly's version of the mental card miracle that Vernon had in Stars of Magic. Actually, the Vernon method in Stars of Magic was actually William Reed Woodfield's idea of using the gambler's palm to go to the pocket. The Daly version is almost unknown. Ascanio knew about it, and when I was a boy, in 1947, they had the first convention I attended. Dave Vernon was there, Cardini was there, Jacob Daly was there. I was standing next to Ed Marlowe. I didn't go to another convention for years. I was just in shock from all these people. And Daly did the trick, and I remembered it. And I did it one time, and Charlie said, that's Jacob Daly's. And not many people realized that he had a handling on it, and it's really a very nice one. I mean, there's only one drawback with the metal card miracle. It's you're always putting the cards down, you know. That's why the Vernon method was you took it out of your pocket and just did another card every time. But Daly's diminishes down to 1. One of my favorite magical books was Stars of Magic. In fact, at one time I could do every effect in the book. One of my favorites was Dave Vernon's metal card miracle. But what I'd like to show you today is the Jacob Daly version of this effect. A close friend and confidant of Dave Vernon, of course. The Daly effect is very unusual because the cards are constantly in view and diminish till you're down to 1 card. Let me show you how it works. The first thing you must do prior to the performance is secretly cut the 5 of spades to the top of the deck. Now you're going to go through and openly, apparently, remove 5 cards, which is what you do. You're going to remove the ace, deuce, 3, 4, and a stranger card. Now here's the 4. I take a stranger card that's similar. Here's a 4 of clubs, and I take the others as I find them. There's a 2 of spades, the 3 of spades, and the ace. Now you do any adjustments to the order. You want it to be ace, deuce, tray, stranger, 4. Of course, this is done with the cards facing you, not the audience. And you take out these 5 cards and add them to the top of the deck. Now you count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and as you display them, you take a break under the top card. These are added to the top of the deck, and everything above the break is picked up as you square them, and the deck is set down in front of you. Now you display the cards. You say, I have an ace, a deuce, a tray. You do a single buckle, pick up the 2 cards at that point, so you can show the 4 without showing the stranger, and then the 5. Now you square them up, and you put them under the table, and you say you're going to make a prediction, and you remove the stranger card, the 4 of clubs. You don't show that to them, of course, and set it on top of the deck. Now you ask them to name a card. And now you're going to apparently prove to them that the card you placed down was theirs. And you do this by a series of false counts, basically buckle counts. The buckle count, of course, is to just buckle a card with your little finger. In the earlier years, magicians buckled with their forefinger, but you can see the action. So this is a hidden action. By just merely doing that, you create the card to buckle. You're going to do multiple buckles, which were invented by Herb Zero. In other words, if you can buckle one, if you press it a little more, you can buckle two. That's a double. And if you can press it a little more, you can buckle three. That's a triple buckle. Let me show you how it works now. If you want the ace to disappear, you do a triple buckle, like so. You grab these two cards as one, and you spread everything out. And when you turn them face up, the ace is not there. Apparently, it's here. If you're going to do the deuce, then you do a double buckle. But first you take the top card, do the double buckle, grab two as one here, and now the deuce is gone, apparently. It's the card that's here. If you want the three, you do a standard buckle count. You show the ace, the deuce, you do the buckles, you show the four, and then the five. The four is very simple. All you have to do is take off one card, two cards, three cards, hold these two as one, snap it against the fan as you display them, and now the four is gone. The five is even easier. You do the gambler's cop. You set the cards so that your second finger is touching the outer corner, and if they say the five, you buckle. A little pressure causes the buckle at the back so you can grab all of these cards, and I'm doing it a little back off the table so I can drop my hand, fan these out, and show that the five is in fact gone. Now you go under the table to do your second prediction. Now let me show you how it works. Let's assume that they do say the ace first. So you do your triple buckle, show that the ace is gone. Now you go under the table, you take off the ace, of course, and set it here. Now you ask them to think of another card since you've made a second prediction. Let's assume they say the three. Well, you take this, you do a buckle, and of course now you show the three is gone. Now you go under the table, the next prediction is, of course, you're going to bring out the three. And they believe you're down to two cards. When you come on out, I do a buckle and show the two cards for a moment and put them back together. Now I ask them to name the card. Let's say they say the five. Well, I do the gambler's cop, and the five is gone. Now I go under the table, and I try to ascertain, because you realize there's the two and the four. I try to ascertain, is he going to guess the two or the four? And I try to take an educated guess myself. And I'm going to say it's the four because it's on the bottom. So what I do is I take two cards, the actual four and the five, as one, and place them down onto the pack like so. Now I'm down to one card. What if I've guessed wrong? Well, this is Jacob Davies' nice thinking. He uses he uses Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser's lovely Remember and Forget theme. He knows he has to do. She said, I would like you to remember, since we're down to one card, remember one card and forget the other. It's either the deuce or the four. You may remember the deuce or you remember the four, but then please forget the other. What card did you remember? If they say the four, the effect looks dynamite. You say, then that would leave the only card I can't predict because it's the last card. We're all going to know it. That's the two. And you did say the four, and now you're going to go and turn the cards over and show that they're exactly in the very same order that you predicted them. You don't want to go that far, or else you're going to be Polish like me and tip the trick. But let's suppose that they say the deuce. Let's suppose they say the deuce. Then you say, what did you remember? And they say the deuce. And I say, that's wonderful. Look at the card, concentrate on it. You did say the deuce. Absolutely correct. It's the last card in my hand. And, of course, you remember the one you forgot is the four. There's the other predictions, the five, the three, and, of course, the ace.